If you've ever been told everything looks normal, but still don't feel yourself, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Cornerstone Integrative Healing Podcast, where we're changing the face of healthcare so you can understand your body and take your health back. Because the truth is, most people are left managing symptoms without ever being told why their body is struggling in the first place.
Here, we take a root cause, whole body approach, connecting your physical, emotional, and spiritual health so you can finally start moving forward. And most importantly, we point you to the one and only true healer, Jesus. Hello, I'm Kari, Coody, your co-host. I'm a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner, and after 20 years in the traditional healthcare system, I saw firsthand just how many people were left without real answers, and I knew there had to be a better way.
Oh, hey, I'm Jenn, Patriarca. God gave me a desire to help others through natural healing many years ago. And after more than 20 years in functional nutrition, he brought Kari and I together for this mission. A mission to help you understand your body, trust what it's telling you, and give you the tools and confidence to take your health back.
Through these conversations, you can expect simple, straightforward guidance on real health topics, along with practical steps that support your body, your mind, and your faith. Because healing isn't just physical, and it doesn't have to feel so overwhelming. We're really glad that you're here, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes every Monday. Hey everyone, welcome back into the Cornerstone Integrative Healing Podcast. It's Kari and Jenn here, and we're just back for another episode. We love gathering every single Monday to just help you think about your health differently. We're really passionate about helping you get to the root cause of your symptoms and really discover like what your body has been telling you, because we believe that your body is with symptoms, right? There's a story that is being told. And so we love doing that, coming together, chatting about these things. And ultimately, though, we want to point you back to the Lord because he's our ultimate healer. And so we're back for a great episode today on something that, you know, we hear a lot. It's been normalized. It's definitely a thing that is on most women's mind, and that's hormones. Specifically PMS, just symptoms around your cycle. It's funny how in conversation it comes up, right? It's my time of the month and I feel awful, and it's just, everybody's chiming in about their cycle and how, all of these things, and it's very normalized, and it's just kind of quickly labeled as it's just hormones. And if you dread your cycle every month, this conversation is definitely for you, because we want to help you think about your symptoms as signals, not just something that's normal, because it's not normal to have PMS. Your cycle should come and go with little to no symptoms. That is actually what's normal, even though it's very normalized and very common for women to have tons of symptoms around their cycle. So that's just kind of something we want to maybe help you rethink, shift your focus around hormones in general, for sure, because I think it is, and Jenn, you can definitely weigh in on this. Like, I think a lot of things are passed off as hormones, but and things do affect hormones, but that's not the actual issue, right?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I think, if you have a practitioner and or a provider and they start with hormones, like run, because that's just...
I mean, that's true. Yeah.
It's just not where you start. But we want to talk about these problems because we want you to understand kind of what the root is, how they work, how does it start. And so PMS is a big thing for a lot of women. And, of course, like Kari said, we joke about it. It's kind of, it's quote unquote common. But it's not normal. And so we just want to talk about what PMS is actually telling you. So what is actually happening, especially in the phases of your cycle. So you have two phases of your cycle, your follicular phase, which is your first 2 weeks. And then the second 2 weeks is your luteal phase. And PMS usually occurs about a week or, several days before your period. For some women, it's right after they ovulate because that corpus luteum is not healthy. And so they'll have symptoms for 2 weeks before their bleed. So and I want to make sure like this isn't just about like, oh, it's too much estrogen, it's estrogen dominance, or it's low progesterone. Like so for a lot of providers, what they'll do is they'll look at those, which is one snapshot of the blood in time is usually what they're looking at. And unless you know what where you are in your cycle, that's not really useful information to you, right? So, you wanna know where you are in your cycle. Ideally, you're testing, 11 to 14 samples over the course of your cycle. That's ideal, right? So you know how all the signaling looks, right? Like our pituitary. I'm getting kinda in the weeds. But anyway, I just
We'll explain what all that means. How about that? You just gave us a preview about some of the things that we're gonna talk about.
Yes, yes. So I know estrogen dominance is mentioned a lot, and I sort of just want to spend 1 minute on it because it's
Yeah,
important. It's not necessarily too much estrogen, but it's ratios. So it's probably likely too much estrogen in relation to your
right.
progesterone, right? Now you could have estrogen dominance, too much estrogen. That's definitely a thing. But I just want to be clear because a lot of doctors will be like, well, you don't have estrogen dominance, but if your progesterone is not where it should be and your estrogen is normal, then you do have estrogen dominance. So, um,
Which is
eh,
very common. There's
very
tons of
common.
stuff
Yeah,
that decreases our progesterone, and if we don't ovulate because of stress or any kind of stress on the body, and your body sees that as a threat, it's not going to ovulate because obviously it doesn't want you to bring forth life and get pregnant.
right.
You're not going to get that release of progesterone. So that's super common.
Yeah, the body is very innately intelligent.
Yes.
Survival is way more important than making a baby.
Yeah.
And so it's always going to choose survival.
Right.
And so, that's why nervous system regulation, obviously, as we've talked about so many times, responding to stress, staying regulated, is super important. But also your liver health, your gut health, those are super important. That's how we process hormones. That's how we conjugate and get rid of hormones. So, I know we sound like a broken record, but those foundationals are really so key. So what's the clear problem? So the hormones rely on clear communication pathways. So the hypothalamus is, and the pituitary are signaling with the ovaries. A lot of times, what will happen is you will get impaired signaling. And so, for the majority of the people, not, I shouldn't say the majority, about half the people, that's why if you go to your OB with PMS, they'll offer you the pill because the suppression of ovarian function in about 50% of the people gets rid of the symptoms. We don't know why, but that's what happens. And so that's why the answer. So the problem is you're making the root cause problem worse because when you suppress ovarian function, that means you disrupt, the communication between the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, ovarian axis. You shut down ovulation because the body thinks it's pregnant and it's not ovulating. And so you're producing less estrogen overall. And so your protection from cancer, estrogen sensitive cancers goes down, and a bunch of other things, especially if your liver and digestion isn't great.
Okay. This is probably a new concept for people. So let's make sure that we explain this correctly. Like the signaling, why is that a huge problem that's overlooked? Like, why do we need this healthy signaling? Like, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, um, and the physiology is a little bit fuzzy, but I'll make it basic anyway. So, basically, what happens is you have FSH, that's follicle stimulating hormone, that's telling from the pituitary, that's telling the ovaries, the follicles to develop, right? Get ready to release an egg. So that's the first half of your cycle. And then you have estrogen spike, right? And then the second half of the cycle is so luteinizing hormone, also a pituitary hormone, is, and this is a little bit fuzzy, but basically it's going to help maintain the corpus luteum
Right.
after and help the progesterone. It signals the progesterone to be released in the second half of the cycle to maintain that corpus luteum if pregnancy is achieved, to maintain the pregnancy until the placenta is available. Okay. So all that signaling is really important. Your pituitary needs to be healthy, your hypothalamus needs to be healthy, your ovaries need to respond to the FSH and the LH, right? Because they're responding. It's a
Mhm.
it's a dance. Like this is a
Right.
beautiful dance between all these organs. And so what happens is during stress, right? The pituitary obviously is affected. It's the master gland. And so there's a hormone. Is it a hormone? I think so, yeah. It's, prolactin goes up
Yeah.
in response to cortisol, which is a stress hormone, right? Which very much interferes, with that proper signaling. And I'm not, I'm
No,
against
that's
this.
perfect. Like,
Yeah.
again, we could go into the weeds on
Yeah.
this, and I'm not suggesting
Right.
we do, but I think it's a huge thing that people don't
Yeah.
think about. They don't, and it's not really talked about either. And so we just focus on the hormones, but what if the signaling's off?
Yes,
That's
that's
a
exactly
huge piece of it.
that's a huge piece of it because we're in a stress response, either emotionally,
Right.
physically, usually both, right? So that's why we're so, concentrated on the basics, like minerals and digestion and nervous system.
Because they're all safety signals.
Exactly, and they
Yes.
help you, right, keep your hormones in check, and so can you just manipulate hormones? Absolutely, you can,
But
but
you're
they're
bypassing the problem.
correct.
And it's not
Also
just affecting your hormones either.
correct. And here's the other problem is, especially you are affecting the receptor site sensitivity. You hormones are exert massive signaling.
Yeah.
Like the hormones are so powerful. Like if hormones are like a drop in a train full of water. That's the concentrations that we're talking about. That's how powerful hormones are.
Yeah.
And so couple things I want to talk about the hidden causes because this is a big one that's often missed is
Yeah.
concussions and head injuries will affect the can affect the pituitary and hypothalamus, right? Even if they were mild concussions, right?
Right.
Whiplash, that's considered a concussion. That will affect the hormone control centers. And so this affects hormone signaling and not just levels. And so if, for instance, PMS started after an injury, a head injury or minor or car accident, or maybe you just bumped your head really hard and you have sleep issues and, irritability and, started after all of that, that could be a sign that, ooh, maybe the hypothalamus or pituitary, usually pituitary, I should say usually, but either one can really be
Mhm.
affected. And so that's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, and, you know, that this is I mean, I would be surprised if somebody has heard concussions cause these issues, and they've even connected that to hormones, right? It's just not talked about a lot, but
No.
hopefully the fact that we just explained why the hypothalamus and pituitary function really matters with hormones, you can see how concussions, um, affect that. And so that's one of the reasons why we ask every single client that comes to us, have you ever had a concussion? Because we're going to need to help that area heal so that the signaling can be restored. And that looks different for everybody, of course. Just there's a lot of factors that go into that, but it is something that's often overlooked that's a huge issue with the
Yeah.
signaling and can affect tons of things, not just hormones. So that's number one, kind of like what we're calling hidden root causes for PMS and difficulties with your cycle. Another one, and you probably have heard about this if you're in this space, is something called xenoestrogens. And these are just kind of toxic estrogens that are often found in plastics, personal care products, cleaning products. And basically, really simply put, it's things that mimic estrogen and kind of take over for that estrogen, if that makes sense in the body. And so it tells the body that you don't need to produce as much like natural estrogen, and so it really throws off that balance with estrogen and progesterone. Of course, again that we already talked about, and it just kind of overwhelms the system, clogs up the liver as well. That's one thing for sure, but it can definitely worsen PMS and cause heavy cycles. Um, and this is why, it's often talked about to clean up those products and use cleaner products is because, of course, that's not the only thing that can that's in this conversation, but it is a part, right? All these things add up,
Right.
for sure.
Right.
So,
Over time. Yeah.
yeah.
So then you add on top of that those xenoestrogens, oh, and we're getting pounded with
Yeah.
pesticides, plastics, all this stuff. Now you add in decreased liver function. And we're not talking about like, oh, my labs are normal on a test, like my liver's fine. We're not talking about that. Your liver can still be under functioning with normal lab values,
Yes.
right? It's just not clearing estrogen as well if it doesn't have the right components to what we say conjugate or attach estrogen to something to clear it out of the system. And then in the gut, so if you have poor gut flora, what happens is that estrogen that got conjugated in the liver to get out, that's how the estrogen gets out. What happens is it gets deconjugated and then recirculated. So it's exerting
Yeah.
exerting its effect over and over, which can be a problem. So that's why poor diet and gut imbalances are key for
Yeah.
good hormones, because a lot of us are eating low fiber, high processed fat intake, high sugar, not good, complex carbs. And it's stress as well as some other things are altering that gut bacteria. And this can lead to that estrogen imbalance from it being recirculated. So gut health, liver health, super important. A lot of times, if people have like just a mild PMS case or maybe even mild like endometriosis case, so the first thing I'll do is a liver, like a full
Oh,
21
yeah,
day.
liver's huge with hormones because you have to process, like, each
Yeah,
hormone that's made has to
yeah,
be processed and eliminated.
yeah. So, yeah, so, I would say digestion, liver health, clean products, super, super important if you're having, PMS or PMDD, which is a more severe
Mhm.
type of PMS where, you get severe depression, which for a lot of women, that's the case.
Yeah,
So, just take a step back and start to look at some of the basics, and it will help. It might not do the job. And this takes time, right?
yeah.
Because we've talked about the stages of stress responses. So Hans Selye, who's a brilliant guy, sort of developed this general adaptation response chart. And basically, there's phase one, there's phase two, phase three. Phase one is like the initial acute reaction to stress, right? Normal. And then if you look at an animal, they immediately, once that stressor's gone, they come out of that stress response. Problem with us humans is we don't do that well because
Yeah.
obviously we're, multitasking among other things. But anyway, we go into the second stage, which is the resistance phase, right? Or if we stay there too long, then we go into exhaustion. And so, yeah, it's super important that that takes time to move out of those phases. And, get
And they're so multi-layered. I mean,
yes,
right, like, there's emotional stress, but there's also physical stress, right? We're talking about if we have all of these toxins, that is a stressor. Like, our body's like, "Oh my gosh,
yeah,
I can't get rid of these. They're just recirculating and
right,
recirculating."
right.
Undereating is a stressor.
Mm,
Overexercising is a stressor.
yeah,
It's like all of these things, I think sometimes we wanna only focus on one, but it usually is never just one thing.
no,
So,
it's
we're not
not.
trying to say, "Hey, work on everything." We're just saying, "Hey, consider everything," right? And
Yeah.
pick which one you might wanna focus on right now, but don't neglect the other things because they all do really make a difference.
Yeah, and just know that, I know a lot of women feel stuck because they feel like their only option is birth control or hormonal
Right.
supplements, and that's definitely not the case. I've seen really good responses, using just the basics, and if needed, a 21-day detoxification, purification program, with really, really good results.
Yeah.
So
So just maybe just, again, we're all about shifting your focus and just thinking about things differently, right? I mean, don't just accept that you have this every single month. Like, birth control is not the only fix, like Jen said, and just maybe consider, like, your body isn't broken. It's not like it doesn't hate you. It's
yeah.
just giving you signals.
Yeah,
And sometimes there's a lot of signals and it's, it's just it can feel like a lot. I'm sure if you have this debilitating thing every month, you just want it gone.
yeah,
And we understand that. But even if you are on birth control or hormonal supports, do consider some of these things because they will help. Right? It's not
absolutely.
like all is lost if you have to go on birth control or if you are on birth control.
Right.
Like, these things will help it work better and hopefully you can come off of it, right? I mean, you got to start somewhere. And
Absolutely.
just seeing your body is communicating. It's always communicating. So, we hope this kind of helps you just rethink this conversation. And I think hormones are definitely it's just a broad topic and, as we age, right, Jen and I are, we're getting on up there, and so hormones are always changing too. There's seasons for different things, and so but we need hormones. I think we can demonize hormones, right? We need the hormones. Hormones
Mhm.
aren't the problem.
We're
It's
the
all of these
problem.
other things that are influencing the hormones.
Yeah, no,
So, it's a
sure.
beautiful thing to be a woman. Don't hate your cycle. Your cycle is there for a reason. It is
Amen.
wanting to work for you, for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
So, just reconsider some of those things. Let us know if you have any questions at all. Um, if you feel like we could be helpful to you in any way and just kinda help you figure out what might be going on with you, you can always book a free call with us. We would love to chat with you and see if it might be a good fit. And if not, just point you in the right direction. We have some free resources as well, so we could point you to one of those perhaps. So thanks for joining us. We love to have these conversations with you, and we'll see you on the next episode.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.